On the air.
Hey, we're
All right,
live.
thanks for visiting us for a very, very special episode of Threats from Gallifrey. This is the Deadlands Reloaded Between a Stone and a Hard Place special
Dun, dun,
episode. I'm here with
dun.
Savage Jim, and welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Garrett, how's it going?
Going incredible. I got my pledge into the Kickstarter, and I am very excited to see what this looks like when I get my hands on the PDF.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's only 10 days to go in each one of the Kickstarters, the one for Stone and Hard Place and the one for the graphic novel, for the Cackler graphic novel. The Stone and the Hard Place is already well funded. Their ask was 6 grand, and they're at over 40 right now. So we know that that's happening. It's going to be big. The Cackler is also funded, but there's a special promotion going on right now that if they hit over 500 backers on the Crackler graphic novel, you'll get more bonus stuff for the Stone in the Hard Place one. So what's going to happen is that if they hit that goal of getting that number of backers, they're going to be doing a small supplement that's going to include Deadlands stats for some bonus creatures, for some bonus characters that were historical figures in the Weird West, in the Wild West.
Hmm.
But they need the number of people to get there. Currently, they have 414 backers. They need
Oh, come
500 to
on.
unlock that stretch goal. So we want to get the word out to as many people as possible. If you're interested, definitely worth putting in the money for it. There's also they're going to be putting out some new Game Master GM screens inserts that go with the customizable Game Master screen that Pinnacle puts out.
I love
It's
that
a
screen.
I
Love it
know
to
it's one,
death.
it's one of the best screens out there. I actually have that one. I have a big one, and then I found another company that makes a little one that's a really nice size. You're going to get the inserts. You're going to get the supplement that's got stats for adventure seeds for 6 new historical figures, and finally, there's a scenario that they're going to be publishing called Dead Men Walking. Now, I don't know much about that. I haven't played it myself, but it's supposed to be one of the most lethal scenarios ever written for Deadlands. And considering this is the same setting that gave us Night Train, that's saying a lot. Night Train was absolutely brutal. Every time I've run it, I know I've really torn through groups with it. So I'm really looking forward to that. I really want to see what it looks like. So I really want people to go
Yeah.
out there and back the graphic novel so we can get some of these cool goodies to go along with it.
Yeah, because the email they were sending to the backers was saying that this is the module that Shane breaks out when he's got a
Mhm.
group that he thinks will be fun to break them as he tears through their characters.
Yeah, and having played some of his con special scenarios, yeah, there's something special. Those are really really good. Yeah, when he puts on his when he gets mean, he gets mean. So yeah, so definitely check it out. Like I said, it's out, all this stuff information's up there on the Pinnacle site and the on Kickstarter, and we just need 90 more people to go, or a little bit less than 90, 186 it would be,
Ooh, come on, guys, come on.
so we can do it.
The exciting news, you're back to GMing Savage Worlds.
Yes, I am. Yeah, this past Thursday we started off our East Texas University game, which is one of the settings I was really looking forward to for a long time. I'm a big horror fan, I'm a big modern day fan, so East Texas University is definitely something that I'm really interested in. Most people in my group are really like that setting and those genres. They're big supernatural buffs, they like that sort of thing. So we were really waiting for an opportunity to go for it. And we just got started ourselves. So we started off with the first scenario, which is straight out of the book. We're running the Degrees of Horror plot point campaign.
Hmm.
And I got a few other things lined up for it. But it was neat setting it up. I had an idea, and I know that probably Chris is going to be listening in, so he's probably gonna give me crap for this later on. But I stole one of the Fate character building cards from the character building ideas from Fate RPG. What we did was after everybody had gotten together and made all their PCs up, I handed out index cards to every one of the player characters. And I said, okay, every one of the players. I said, okay, at the top of the card, I want you to write down your character's name. I want you to write your character's major. In East Texas University, you're all college students, so everybody's got a major. Excuse me. Ooh, dinner's repeating on me. So after that, I said, okay, now everybody's got that written on the card. Now I want you to take that card, hand it one person to your left. And the person to the left, I want you to write down on that first person's card the name of their roommate and their roommate's major.
Hmm.
So once we did that, I said, okay, now we're going to pass the cards one step again. Now I wanted to write down the name of one of that character's professors, and the course that professor teaches. The reason why I did that was because, one, that's going to give me a stable of NPCs to pull from that allows me to have more buy-in from people. Because when those characters come up in the game, it'll be, hey, I made up that guy, or I know who that guy is. That guy's my roommate, or that's my teacher, and he teaches this class, and that way they'll have a better buy-in to the setting. And then also it gives the characters a chance to kind of interact with one another and figure out what each player has, what they can do, what they know, and so they have a little bit more feedback or a little bit more knowledge on who these individuals are. The way the campaign starts off, the characters don't necessarily know each other, but this way the players will at least know who the character is and know what to expect. So after that's done, they can hand all the cards in. Now I've got this nice little stack of cards, and that gives me 3 times 6, so 18 characters to play with.
Mm-hmm. You've got a living world already to jump right into.
Exactly. So now I have a ready-made stable of victims, or sources of information, or people who need help and things that can hook in. And I think it's going to go really, really well and help people stay involved with the setting.
Very nice.
The other resource I put together was, there's actually something that I'd seen done before. Back when if it was running 50 Fathoms, someone had put together a guy named, I don't actually know his real name. He goes in the Pinnacle forums as Froggy the Great. I'm not joking. He put together what was called an adventure matrix for 50 Fathoms, and what it was simply a listing of all of the available Savage Tales and plot points that were available from all the different books, page references for them, and where they took place. When I ran 50 Fathoms, it was great because it was easy for me to find stuff for my characters to do. I could just filter the list by areas they were going to. So if I knew they were going to say Kira, or they're going to Baltimus, I could just filter by those locations and find the story seeds that took place in that location, and then pick the ones I like the sound of, or ones that were appropriate for my characters' levels. Well, I like doing that concept. I haven't really seen it happen before. East University has a number of different options. Hang on one second. They have a number of different books and setting options that you can pull from. There's a couple of different supplements. 12 to Midnight, all of their books are suitable for use with East Texas University for different levels. So I wanted to incorporate a list that included all that, so it made me easy to find the stuff I was looking for. So I did. So I put together a spreadsheet of all that information. It's currently available on Google Drive. The link will be provided to you later. I can make sure that I can get that down to you.
Yeah,
so you
we'll have that put in the show notes.
So you can take a look and make comments, questions, concerns. If you want to make a copy for your own purposes, go right ahead. I think it'll be a really interesting and easy resource for ETU game masters to look at going forward. And so hopefully people will be able to get some use out of that. I know I will.
Very nice. Organization.
Yeah, what a concept.
So how did the players respond jumping right into the beginning? Well, were they going for the more comical? Were they playing it a little more straight? How did they jump into the world?
They played it pretty straight. I was actually a little surprised. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say I was terribly surprised. There were some humorous moments. I kind of had prepped them a little bit, saying, it's going to be a little bit like Supernatural. It's going to be a little like Buffy. It's not going to be grim and dark. There's going to be scary moments, but you're going to be heroes too, and you're going to have, it's Savage Worlds. You're going to be pretty heroic, even with the way the character generation rules work. You're still going to be fairly competent. You really don't have to worry too much about it being too challenging.
Very nice. Before we came on, we were talking a little bit about the Savage Worlds Adventure Deck, and I think that was a really interesting thing to talk about. How does this Adventure Deck change the scope of the game, and what kind of GM was you recommended for or recommended against?
The thing I really like about the Adventure Deck, well, for those of you who don't know, the Adventure Deck is it's an optional supplement that is used in certain games. It's up to you whether you want to use it or not. And what happens is that it's a deck of cards that each card has a certain game effect. It might give you a bonus die to roll. It might say that you automatically succeed in a roll. It might introduce an element to the play that wasn't there previously, such as a new love interest or an enemy or something along those lines. Each player gets one card at the beginning of the session, or one card for each rank they have. So novice characters get one, seasoned characters get two, and so forth. Then you can play that card anytime during the session. And it's a use it or lose it resource similar to Benny's. If you don't spend it, you don't get to use them. If you don't spend it, you lose the card. Next time you're going to draw new ones over again. The thing that I really like about it is that it helps encourage players to have more agency in what's going on at the table. Traditional role players, you say you want to do something, the game master says whether it happens or not. And he can easily say, no, that's never going to happen. What the adventure deck does is it encourages the players to help take more control of the scene. They can say things like, oh, the NPC we just met, he's an old friend of mine. And then they play the contact card saying, I know this guy and here's how I know him. Whereas in a traditional RPG, the game master might say, no, you don't. You have no idea who this guy is. You've never met him before. Which can kind of shut down a lot of the ability for players to remain engaged. And a lot of new games are very encouraging of players taking that kind of agency and taking that kind of narrative control. What I found is that some of the more traditional role players aren't comfortable with taking any narrative control at all. It's just something that they're not familiar with. So it's hard to get them into the mode of, oh, you can change what's going on in the scene. You can say something. You can introduce a new character. You can introduce an element if you want to. It's up to you. You're totally welcome to do so. If you don't give them something that kind of encourages that a little bit or gives them a distinct advantage for doing so, they simply won't do it. The adventure deck is great for that sort of group. The more traditional group, the more the older player who's been around for a while, who's not familiar or really comfortable with that style of play. It gets them off their duffs and kind of gets them into the feel of that. So I think it's a really great resource for them. The people that I wouldn't recommend it for are game masters who don't like being surprised. If you're not comfortable with rolling with the punches, or you're not really comfortable with improvising new scenes and new ideas, it might throw you for a loop and give you a little bit more of a struggle to catch up with. Also, one thing I've noticed too is that when players get pretty experienced, when your characters get really high in level, there's a lot of cards floating around the table. And that means there's a lot of different things they can do. And they can really screw up a lot of your finely laid plans in the worst possible way. So you want to watch out when you get to the higher levels. Hopefully by that point you're a little more comfortable with the idea and can play with it a little bit easier. But that is one thing you got to look out for.
One thing I've been doing in the Deadlands Noir game is, as they've been developing and telling me about the context that they've been having and people in the backstories that they've been creating, I'll put like a card for those PC-created characters into the deck, so that they can be dealt out and be used as a contact. They can be tapped if they can think of a way to use them, to have that person show up or be able to provide useful information.
Yeah. Another key thing to do, too, that I also recommend game masters who use it do is make sure you tune the deck a little bit. Change out the cards that are in there. Not every card is appropriate for every scenario, and not every card is going to be useful in every scenario. So you want to pull out the stuff that's not going to be used as frequently and replace it with stuff that might be. I think largely in some settings, like example, East Texas University is a good example. The magic in that doesn't use PowerPoints. So any cards that give you bonus PowerPoints aren't going to be useful. So pull them suckers out, so that way they're not pulling cards they can't use.
How about the Deadlands cards? I haven't taken a strong look on those. What are the specifics for those Deadlands-specific ones? What kind of flavor and powers do they offer?
The Deadlands-specific ones, largely there are bonus cards that are available. For the most part, they're designed for specific settings. So there's ones for Deadlands Noir, there's one for Deadlands itself, there's some for Lost Colony, there's some, or not Lost Colony, for Hell on Earth, a few other settings. Usually those cards support things that are happening within that type of setting. For example, Mark Napick actually used this card to really good effect one night, is that there's one that lets your character, if your character dies during a session, you can play the card and immediately come back as a harrowed character. Normally you have to draw from, when your character dies, you have to draw a card from the deck, and if you draw a Joker, you wind up being harrowed. This one you can play the adventure deck and immediately become harrowed. And the night that actually got played, he tried really, really hard to get his character killed. It was kind of funny. but he was like really went out of his way for his character to die in order to come back. And there's other things too, like there's cards in there that have to do with dueling with the devil, or cards that have to do with gunfights. That sort of thing. They give you advantages in those kind of scenarios. Again, they're not necessary for play. They're kind of nice little bonuses for that particular setting. The ones for Solomon Kane let you activate Righteous Rage, which is a setting rule for Solomon Kane, for free. That sort of thing. There's ones for Necessary Evil or Superpowers, where you can suddenly evidence a power you never had before. That kind of thing.
Okay. It recommends on the box to deal the cards at the beginning, and then before you say session begins, to have the players be able to trade them until you say, and we're beginning. Do you follow that rule too?
Yep.
Or are you
Yep.
more lenient about when they can trade, or how do
Oh,
you play
definitely.
that?
Definitely let them trade whenever they like. The key thing to remember is that the cards are a player resource, they're not a character resource, which means two things. One, it doesn't really matter who has the card, because they can always trade them at any time. The players can always swap one from one person to another. The other thing too that's important is that they don't have to be in the scene to use the card. They don't even have to be involved. They may not be in the same area, they may not be in the same combat, but they can choose to introduce those elements whenever they like on behalf of anyone else at the table. So I'm usually pretty lenient about that, because again, it's all a matter of us telling a good story together. So anything that encourages them to kind of be involved and be proactive, I'm really behind. So
And
yeah, totally.
thinking about that Herald card that you talked about, I
Mm-hmm.
dealt that one got dealt out, and my wife's character she got herself in a coma, her character in a coma for about 3 months of gameplay.
Ooh.
And one of the players got the card. Was like, "Hey Mary, how would you feel about your character dying this session? Because I have a card that'll help her come back, wake up."
Mm-hmm.
She
I would
almost
totally.
she
I'd be
almost
like,
took it.
go for it, man. Go for it. Totally. Like, bring it. Come on. Give it to me. Give me the card.
Come on, we want to be Herald.
Don't we all?
Yes. And my last question for you, that's a stupid question. I think I may have been started doing things wrong somewhere along
Okay.
the line. When your character starts taking wounds and levels of fatigue, do those penalties apply to both the skill die, trait die, and the wild die, or just the skill trait die? You
All
subtract
bon-
1, 2, 3 off of the wild die, or is the wild die pure?
all bonuses and penalties apply to all rolls. What that means is that you roll the dice first, determine which die is higher, then apply any bonuses or penalties. Okay.
Okay.
So if you're rolling, let's say you're rolling, you have a skill of D8 and your wild card, so you're rolling your D8 and your D6. You roll both those dice, you pick whichever one is highest, and then you apply any modifiers, positive or negative. So yes,
Penalties are after number.
yeah. So that means that yes, effectively it applies to both dice. But what you would do is you roll first, figure out which one's higher, and then apply your modifiers.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. It's simpler that way too. It's that way you can just simply roll the dice out, pick the higher one, and then go from there.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining us, Tim. And any other things you'd like to add about the Kickstarters, or about anything that you're excited about Savage Worlds wise?
Um, Not quite yet. I don't think. I think that's the only thing I could really think of the top of my head right now. I know that there's some more stuff coming out for different kinds of things. There's a bunch of new news that's up on the Pinnacle site. I know they're promoting the one-page dungeon contest. They're going to be giving away some ETU prizes for the winners, so that's going to be involved with that. They put out some new handouts for Last Parsec. They put out a bunch of form-fillable forms, which include requisition forms, identification badges, and that sort of thing, which is very cool. It's a really nifty handout to make for people, and I'm a big fan of handouts, so I
Yeah.
definitely use that sort of stuff. And they have also updated their recent convention schedule for all the different games that Pinnacle staff is going to be appearing at this year, and so that's definitely going to be worth checking out as well. So
I hear if you can make it to Mace, they're going to have a very big turnout at Mace this year.
Mace is usually a very big one too, because it's right near where Clinton and Jody live down by there, so they usually show up a lot. I know that we're also looking at Con on the Cob this year. We're doing so I thought of something else. Con on the Cob, a bunch of the Savages are going to be there again. I know that Mike and Steve are going to be there. I'm going to be there. Kali and Yuri who are from downstate New York, they're going to be there again this year. There's usually a really good group of Savage folks that show up for that. And the other thing too, if you're going to be going to Gen Con, I don't know if we've talked about this before. Have we talked about the Gen Con thing?
I don't think so.
If you sign up to run 2 games at Gen Con this year, and send a note to Jody at Pinnacle Entertainment. So it's Peg Jody at peginc.com, and let her know what the codes are for your game, where they're going to be running, when they're going to be running, and they're going to be doing some special giveaways. They're going to be giving some promos to give out to your players, and you're going to be able to get an invitation to go and hang out with some of the Pinnacle folks on Thursday night at Gen Con. Again, all that information is available on the Pinnacle website, so definitely go check that out.
Cool. So start running, everybody. They're really great people. I had a blast getting to just talk to them for a few minutes at their booth last year.
That's always good times.
Cool. Next we will be talking with John Goff about the Deadlands Kickstarter.
Woohoo!
And stop broadcast.